the things that I want in an apartment are so expensive. Hey y'all, what is up? It is Marissa, Nicole, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is gonna be a very chill Q&A, sit down, just like chit chat kind of video, because I've been getting so many questions on my Instagram about our move and about apartments and like my tips for apartment hunting or just basically all of that kind of stuff. So I opened it up on my Instagram, asked you guys to, formally ask me questions. And I just thought we'd be able to go through it today so that way I can give you my tips for like first time apartment people. Even if it's not your first time, just my tips for apartment hunting, what I look for in apartments, like important things to make sure to ask while you guys are doing tours, and basically also run down on our own moving process. So we're gonna be diving into all of that today. And as you can see, we have our boxes in the background. We actually have our first box packed right here next to me, and it's actually just some of Griffin's clothes. So we're starting the packing process. Of course, moving vlogs will be coming, so make sure you're subscribed down below if you're not yet already, because I love moving vlogs. You do not want to miss them. They are literally my favorite thing to film, to watch, all of the above. I want to start first with questions regarding our move. That way I can just get those out of the way, because I know that some of you guys are very curious. So let's dive into those first. Are we staying in Ohio? Yes, as of right now we are. Hopefully we have plans to move out of state in the future, but right now we're still in Ohio. Are you staying in the same area, or are you trying to be in a new location? We will be moving to a new location, so like the city that we're living in right now, we're gonna be moving out of that city and into a new city, so that'll be really exciting to like explore the new area. Never lived there, never really been in this area before, so that'll be fun and new. I got this question so many times, which is how come y'all aren't just renewing your lease? Just curious. And that is mainly because we have outgrown our space here. Although I absolutely love this apartment, this will be literally the archetype, the epitome of like what an amazing, beautiful apartment is for me. This is completely my style. Not so much Griffin's, but that's okay. I would live here forever if I could, but we have just outgrown it. We're overflowing with the amount of stuff we have, and then especially getting Freya, our Australian Shepherd puppy, we're just out of room. With her crate and her playpen, it completely takes over our living room area and our kitchen kind of divide area. She's starting to get bigger. She also just needs more room to like run around. So we've just kind of outgrown it. Building off of that question, are you guys going to get a bigger apartment so you can have an office area slash Freya area? Yes, like that is the main idea, because right now I'm in the bedroom, which the bed is over here, and we have my desk over here, which you guys can see, which isn't like a huge deal to have the desk in the bedroom, but I would really like to have an office because I do most of my work from home. Both of my jobs are like work from home jobs. So it'd be really nice to have a 2 bedrooms. That way we can have an office, and in general, just have more room for Freya and her crate and stuff like that, so they can either go in the office with me so it's not in our living space, or we're not really sure how we're gonna set it up yet, but just having more space is important for us right now. And the last question I'm gonna answer about our move has to do with Freya. So it asks, now that you have Freya, is it more important for you guys to be near a park? And of course, when we got this apartment, we did not anticipate even getting a dog. So that's why we got a 1 bedroom. It was perfect amount of space for just Griffin and I. But yes, now that we are looking for a 2 bedroom, mainly just for more room in general, but also for Freya, the location that we're looking for is really important to be either close to a doggy daycare place or a dog park, a green space that's fenced in, something for her to be able to run around and all of that. Because right now where we live is very like city oriented. There's not any green space around us. We do have to drive out to a dog park quite a ways away to get there, which isn't the end of the world, but if we're gonna move anyways, it'd be nice to find a place close to amenities that are good for Freya and ourselves, but mostly Freya. Now let's dive into some of the questions just pertaining to like apartment hunting, my tips for apartment hunting, that kind of stuff, because I really want this video to kind of be helpful for like first time apartment searchers, renters, all that kind of stuff, or people that have rented before and just want to make the process a little bit easier, because I'm by no means an expert, but I have rented many apartments in my days, only being like 24, and all of them I've done myself. I've either lived with significant others or like friends and everything, so I've never lived on my own, but I've gone through this process a lot, so I want to kind of give you as much helpful information as I can. First question is, how do you know where to start? I'm graduating undergrad and trying to narrow down an area. Of course, everybody's situations are going to be different. My first thought is to think about, of course, where you're working. Most people like to live close to work, so narrowing down an area that's close to your job. Usually between a 20 or 30-minute commute is quite normal, but that can still give you a huge area of like places to look at, which can be overwhelming. So some of the things that I do is basically look at like rankings of the cities or areas, depending if you have kids or not, like looking at the school systems, looking at how much taxes are in that area. You can actually research the crime rates in each city, which is really helpful if you are interested in that kind of stuff. But I would also take into account like what's important to you. Like, do you want to be really close to a grocery store, or do you not care driving 20 minutes to a grocery store? Do you want to be really close to a mall? Like, do you do a lot of shopping? Do you want to be really close to a dog park? Like, what exactly are you looking for on your life lifestyle side other than just like the amenities of the apartment or what the apartment looks like, because I think location is just as important as what the apartment is to make sure you have a place that you actually enjoy living rather than only being confined to the four walls of your apartment. So I would maybe start with that, like listing out things that are really important to you to be close by, and then going on to Google Maps and looking at those things and see what's close to your job as far as like dog parks or malls or shopping areas, restaurants, whatever, and then kind of narrowing it down like that by looking at crime rates, you know, school systems if you're interested, that kind of thing. I also think it's really important to have like visualize it, so go drive through these areas at different times of the day, like go at the morning, go at midday, go at night, see what it's like, see what the life is like, if you're seeing people running and walking their dogs, or if you're seeing absolutely no one. Are there parties every night? Is that something that you don't want to be near, or is that something that you're looking for? Getting a feel for the area in person is so important before you move, if you're able to. I know a lot of people might not be able to do that, especially if you're moving like out of state or across the country kind of thing, but as much as you can do research beforehand, I would do that. On a more specific point of like where to start apartment searching, I genuinely just use apartments.com to find all of my apartments, except sometimes if you type in certain parameters into like apartments.com or stuff like that, it honestly won't show you all of your options. And I actually fell into that with the apartment that we're in now. Like this never came up on any of my searches, but I found this apartment because while I was looking for apartments in this area, I went to Google Maps so I could see their relation to like grocery stores, our jobs, stuff like that. And I ended up seeing it on Google Maps and realizing it wasn't showing up on apartments.com. I went to their website directly, contacted them, they had availabilities, we toured, signed. That's the end of the story. So honestly, like find a good apartment website. You can use all of them. I recommend apartments.com, but also utilize your Google Maps. Like once you've looked on apartments.com, if you find ones that are perfect, like great. But if you're just looking to expand your search, honestly, sometimes some don't show up. So you might want to look on Google Maps and contact them directly to see if they have any openings, because you might just get lucky. What is your strategy to find out if the area is a good or safe place to live in? Like I said, you can actually research the crime rates directly for different cities and everything. I'll link a website down below that you guys can do that through. So that would be like my first step to do. Also, I would recommend reading the reviews for like every apartment complex. However, you want to be strategic with the ones that you're actually like paying attention to or listening to, because even just statistically speaking, reviews on Amazon, all that kind of stuff, people are more likely to leave reviews if they have a negative experience rather than a positive one. So take all the negative ones with a grain of salt. If you only see 3 positive ones for every like 10 negative ones, there's probably more positive ones. People just don't leave reviews if they've had a good experience usually. But negative reviews that I automatically like nix is anything regarding neighbors, because you can't control your neighbors at any apartment complex, and you'll be surprised at the amount of negative comments or reviews will be like, I absolutely hated my upstairs neighbor. They would just pound around like a herd of elephants. It was absolutely awful kind of thing, which has nothing to do with the apartment complex. It has everything to do with that upstairs neighbor. And you could get a shitty neighbor at any apartment complex. So I automatically just throw those to the side. Comments that I like to listen to, especially if negative or positive ones, are mainly about management and how they are timely or how they deal with situations, because a lot of people will comment about how they had a situation with their dishwasher being broken and it took somebody 2 weeks to come and fix it. That is stuff that I pay attention for, because you want a timely maintenance person. And if the complex has tons of reviews that maintenance sucks, I'm not going to move there. If you have a ton of positive comments about how the management is so nice, they're so transparent, so informative, like have such good interactions with everybody they come in contact to, and then you see a bunch of negative comments about neighbors or blah blah blah, I'm gonna take those positive ones even if there's more negative ones about neighbors, because neighbors just don't matter. I care about the apartment complex, the units, the management. That's what's important, because you can get other bad things anywhere. Another like old wives tale, I don't know if you would consider it that I've heard go around as far as like finding a good area to live in, is to look at the cars in the parking lot. I don't necessarily like this tip, because it's basically just looking at socioeconomic status, which does not equate to a good part of town to live in. So I don't like it, but I do like to say it, because if it's important to you, you can look at the cars. I do not, because I don't care what everybody's socioeconomic status is at my apartment complex. I don't care what kind of cars they drive, but there are some people that really care if they live in like an uppity part of town. So if that matters to you, you can look at that. I just do not like the connection of the types of cars with being a good place to live in. Another one that I like to look for, which I mentioned a little bit ago, is to go to the apartment complexes at different times of the day, because when you go at maybe 1 p.m. for a tour, it's probably going to be on its best behavior, for lack of a better term, because it's the middle of the day, people are at work, it might be quiet, all of that kind of stuff. So go on like a Friday night, a Saturday night, see what's going on. Are there parties? Is it loud? Is that conducive for your living arrangements that you're preferring? But while you're there at different times of the day, you can see like who is out and about. Are there actual people like walking around? Are there people running? Are there people exercising, walking their dogs? Because people aren't going to do that if it's not necessarily a safe place to live, because people won't feel safe going out at night or walking their dog in the middle of the day, like that kind of stuff. So those would be my main tips for finding out if it's like a safe area or not. What is something that immediately turns me off of a house or an apartment? apartment. And honestly, it's how the tours go. When Griffin and I toured a whole bunch of apartments, there was literally one complex we went to go see multiple units at that honestly the units were great. They looked great, the pricing was fine. However, the person that took us on a tour was so dismissive, they were abrasive, they rushed us through all of the tours, literally kicking me out of one of the units at one point when I was asking questions. They were just like, let's go ahead and head back. And I'm like, I would still like to see the unit. If they're not welcoming when I come in, if they're not answering my questions, if they're just trying to like get me in, get me out, like I don't necessarily like that, because it might be how they're going to be on a daily basis if I run into problems, if we need a maintenance issue, or just how they're going to deal with their residents in general. And for me, that's a big turnoff. Not everybody will care, but going back to like the reviews that I mentioned, I look out for ones about management, because management is important. That's who you're going to be dealing with. And if you have a problem with paying your rent, are they going to be understanding? If you have a problem with maintenance stuff, are they going to be there for you? Like that's the most important thing for me. So if I am not feeling welcome, or they're not being like respectful, that immediately turns me off, and I don't want to live there no matter how nice those apartments are. And that's what happened with Griffin and I, and we decided not to go with them because I did not like who took us on a tour. And that sucks, but like first impressions are everything. Kind of on the same regard, what is something that would make me say no to an apartment right away? And that is basically after I viewed all the apartments that are available to me, like going on actual tours and viewing them, what will immediately make me like nick something off of a list is how it stands up to the other units, mainly monetarily speaking. For example, one of the units that Griffin and I saw was beautiful, amazing, like we would have went with it. However, when we viewed all the other ones, and specifically for this example at least, I'm going to compare two of them. The one was beautiful, the other one was like fine. It wasn't absolutely gorgeous. However, this unit that was beautiful was an extra $500 than the one that was like sufficient for the same amount of things, same amount of square footage, maybe a different wall color or carpet color, but nothing that was of importance. I'm nixing this one. No matter how beautiful it is, I like to make sure that if I'm going to be spending more money, I'm actually getting the best bang for my buck. And upping $500 just for like example, white walls and white carpets is not enough for me. I need to up it $500 because utilities are included, or it's completely renovated and new appliances, new everything compared to this other unit, more square footage, more and better amenities, a freaking trash valet. Like you need to make it worth my while to spend an extra $500 if I can get the same thing for less. And that's just me though. I'm really big on the monetary value kind of thing, but you do want to compare that. Another example, there was a unit that was reasonably priced, like we would have went with it. However, the water was included, but they were charging us every month for way more than what we pay for our water now. And I was like, no, like why would I pay more for I know we're going to spend less? Because I can compare that to our past bills. I know how much money we spend on water every month. We can use as much water as we want for a flat fee, but that flat fee is double or triple the amount that I know we're spending. I'd rather pay for my water than have a flat fee, if that makes sense. What are my must-haves for an apartment? So like aesthetics, I absolutely love white walls, hardwood in the entire unit, white cabinets, like light, airy kitchen, like everything airy, basically this apartment. This is the perfect apartment. I love the coloring of everything. It's a no-go for me if there's not a bathroom readily accessible for guests outside of going through a bedroom, especially if it's a one bedroom. I don't want all of my guests having to go through my bedroom to use the restroom. Thankfully here we have like a half bath that's used for guests, but even if we didn't have the half bath, I would hope that the bathroom would have like 2-door entry, so that way guests can come through and I can close off the door to the bedroom rather than people coming through the bedroom. That's just a pet peeve of mine. Even with 2 bedrooms, I do not want 2 bedrooms and then the bathrooms both inside the bedroom, because guests have to go through the bedrooms to go to the bathroom, and I hate that. And at least for me, I need like a washer dryer in unit because I don't want to go to laundromats. That's just super inconvenient. But on the other side, 3 must-haves would just be like affordability. I'm getting the most bang for my buck as far as like the most square footage, the most modern, up-to-date appliances, different aesthetic features that I really, really like at the best price. Like that is perfect for me. You might not think of this, but this is one thing that you should think of, which is an easy way to move things in. There was one unit that we viewed that literally is on the 3rd floor, and you have to go up this tight stairway, curved like 4 times to get up to the 3rd floor unit. And all I was thinking about was how the hell are we gonna move things up these stairs? You can't get a couch through these curves. Imagine getting a box spring through here. That kind of stuff I'm really thinking about. Even in a unit aspect, is there like an elevator, or is there a really wide staircase, or are you gonna be able to fit things through the doors? How are you actually going to move? That's important. And honestly, for me, location is important, whether that's close to my job or for school like it was back in the day, or next to things that I really want to be close to, because you'll save money that way, especially like on gas. If you live an hour away, you're going to be spending a good portion of your checks on gas just to get back and forth, rather than finding an apartment that is close to something that you have to get to every day, like a job or for school. Would I rather have a nice apartment or a nice location? That one's tough because I'm tempted to just say both, because you can find nice apartments in a nice location, but if I had to pick, I would honestly say a nice apartment. And I don't know if you mean like a safe location or if you just mean like a nice location, like next to malls or next to downtown kind of thing. So I guess it depends on how you actually meant that question. But for me, I'm putting that as like a nice location. Like, is it pretty outside? Do you have amenities near you? Can you go shopping? Can you go out to eat? I'd rather have a nice apartment than close to those things, because my brain works in a monetary sense, because if I am close to those things, I'm gonna spend more money than if I would if I just had a nicer apartment and I stayed my ass inside. And the last question I'm gonna answer for this video is, what is the most difficult part of apartment hunting? That one's kind of a hard one because inherently I don't think that apartment hunting is that hard, but I don't know if it's just because I've been doing it for so long or just because I enjoy the process of moving. Like, I love looking at apartments and like going to tour them and asking so many questions and taking notes on every single unit I see. I enjoy the process, but I think the hardest part is trying to find something within your budget that also matches your style. A lot of people fall into this with like clothes, you know, like if I could afford my fashion taste, I would dress completely different. And that's kind of the same concept with apartments. Like, if I could actually afford what I want in an apartment, perfect. But the things that I want in an apartment, they're so expensive. And I'm even thinking that with like a house, like I know whenever we build a house or buy a house or something, that it's just gonna be so expensive for what I want. And it usually doesn't match up with like the price point that I have. And that's what's kind of hard, to compromise on like what's most important as far as even like visuals or aesthetics or anything like that, or location, like the compromise. We'll like package that in a bow. As far as the hardest thing for me is just compromising either on price, location, aesthetics, amenities, that kind of thing. Just like really finding the sweet spot with everything that you want / need at a good price. Like, that's what's hard, because you're usually giving up something with everything. But I do hope this video was helpful and gave you kind of an insight of my process or my tips and tricks and what we're looking for while we're apartment searching. If you guys have any other questions that I'd be able to help with, like, leave them down below. But also follow me over on Instagram, because I like to do Q&As and that kind of thing over there, so I can always answer your guys' DMs, or when I do an actual question poll on my stories, you guys can participate in that next time. But also don't forget to subscribe down below, that way you don't miss out on our apartment hunting, apartment tours, moving, hauls, like all of those kinds of videos coming up, because we're getting ready to move and I'm so freaking excited. But thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, more than you'll ever know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!